We are currently live streaming, so please, thank you.
Is there any way to really fast it up to section R?
I can fast it wherever you want it.
Okay. It's all way down.
Tell Angela.
That way go up fast. Section R. They're labeled. It's way down. That's D. That's D.
That one?
Yep. Is that no? That's not the first one.
They're controlling it from. Yeah, there's only one R.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, from there.
Yep.
It's currently restreaming right now. So yeah. So everybody at home is watching all of this happen right now.
Can we scream into the
First
mic
thing
now?
up there is giving
Yes, I
us.
have y'all at 93.
Yeah.
I have y'all set at 93. Y'all weren't the problem.
Hey,
Donna's voice.
It never went off when I was over here.
Donna's voice, she has this habit of leaning in.
I thought it was, sometimes like they're real sensitive to jewelry. Like people have a big metal watch or bracelet or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it like, I swear people grab a microphone, like especially those cordless ones, and then it's like.
Well, with her, it's because I had it all the way up to like 99 because I get complaints that they can't hear the mirror, and when I tried to lower it, it wouldn't let me lower hers. It just stayed. Like we only have one. So when I present
Yeah, I
it,
remember that.
we only have one mic for everybody. So I have to switch it.
Okay. If I can have everyone's attention, thank you so much for your patience. We've had technical difficulties, and we are now back on the record at approximately 6 minutes after 9, a longer break than we thought due to the technical difficulties. So when we left, we had already heard from the first 3 witnesses, City Manager Kinsler, City Councilor Rodriguez, and Yvonne Acuna, and then we had other witnesses, corroborative witnesses that were heard as well. So as per the change in the rules, we've allowed Mr. Martinez to rebut. So you would rebut Councilor Rodriguez, Yvonne Acuna, I guess Lieutenant Anderson, Lieutenant Gonzalez, Crystal Caldera, Melinda Moritz, whoever else, not Ms. Kinsler, because we were going to put her, your rebuttal would be with the rest of the complainants. Is that correct? Just want to be sure we're...
Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to make one point about
Yeah.
that, though. Ms. Kinsler, during her testimony, she didn't just talk about her complaint. She talked about all of the complaints together, including the sexual harassment allegations.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
That's a good
it
point.
doesn't-
I didn't
Does
think
that
about
open the
that.
door for Mr. Martinez to respond to her complaints?
Okay.
I don't believe it does, Mayor. The agreement was what was the agreement. It was already known that she'd be talking about everything. So
It was known by who?
by you and everyone else. That was what we were told to start with.
Excuse me. Yeah, I thought we were taking Ms. Kinsler out of order because she had to leave early. or
That's
something.
that's
what I
my
thought.
understanding, and that the complaints that we were talking about were the complaints that were filed according to what we've been provided, and we weren't provided these binders of all this information in regards to Ms. Kinsler's complaint. So I was kind of surprised that she went through all this and not just talked about the complaint about the media.
Okay, so how do we resolve that? Because those are good points.
Well, the division of the subject matters is actually kind of what you go back to. And so this is the rebuttal of the subject matters regarding the sexual harassment charges. So any statements made, he should be able to
Okay.
rebut for that subject matter
Okay.
only.
All right.
And then when we go to the next subject matter, we'll cover all of them. So at the end, he can talk about everything kind of collectively.
All right. Did you understand that, Mr. Councilor Martinez, you can rebut Ms. Kinsler's on the sexual harassment?
Sexual harassment comments only, but I mean,
Comments only?
her references were what she overheard, and then just, she got the complaints in and what she did with them. So, since her statement is really just a corroboration of Catherine Rodriguez's statement, his ability to rebut that at the moment is just, it's limited to that subject matter. Does that make sense?
Okay. What she overheard and then the corroboration aspect, is that the two sections?
Well,
that
what she
you
overheard was the corroboration aspect. So
Oh.
if he rebuts Councilwoman Rodriguez's statements, it is in fact rebutting Ms. Kinsler's statements.
Okay. Anything else? All right, Mr. Martinez, if you'd like to begin on rebutting the sexual harassment allegations that you just heard this evening.
Let me start out by saying that I do not find any charter violation in reference to Catherine Rodriguez's complaints. Catherine Rodriguez's original complaints, she had 3 of them. On October 2nd, 2018, during the National Night Out at Tailwaggers, she claims I came up to her and I asked if I cared to take a bath. On November 20th, 2018, City Council meeting, Catherine came up and tried to walk between myself and another person. We all shook hands. Catherine Rodriguez claims I was stroking her hand. And then on December 3rd, her 3rd complaint was at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. And at that time, she claimed that I was just close to her backside. During the initial pictures that were taken, I was standing beside her and to the right of Santa. There is a picture of the tree lighting ceremony. And you can see between my legs there is grass showing. In fact, if you really look at the pictures, isn't Councilor Alcazer kind of close to Santa Claus? But this is a group picture, and what do you do in a group picture? Hey, squeeze in together. Let's get together. So that was the picture. And if you look at here, this picture was taken. Let's see, December 3rd, 2018, at 5:01:06 p.m. in the evening. Look at picture 2. And Catherine Rodriguez stated that between pictures 1 and 2 that I thrust my crotch in her backside. Picture 1, picture 2. Have I moved? Now, if you look at the lights, there's a light behind Catherine's head. Now it's by my face. The cameraman moved. Now here, look at the metadata for picture 2. It was December 3rd, 2018, at 5:01 p.m. and 10 seconds. So in 4 seconds, where I didn't move an inch between these 2 pictures, I thrust my crotch into her backside. That's physically impossible. I maintain that after Catherine Rodriguez talked to Mr. Henry, and it appears like her original 3 complaints weren't good enough to claim any kind of sexual harassment. So it appears like they were greatly exaggerated. I might have to get. The first thing she mentioned is after she got elected, and I admit I did call her. She didn't answer the phone. I got her voicemail, and I congratulated her for winning. And I suggested maybe we can get together and have lunch. I made one call and only one call to her. I did not make repeated calls. I did not offer to hang out with her. I made one call to congratulate her for winning the election. As for invading her personal space by getting a 1.5 feet apart, is a 1.5 feet apart getting in front of violating someone's personal space? I only see Catherine Rodriguez during city council meetings, once in a while at a civic event. Before council meetings, I go into the audience, as many of you guys know, I walk around and shake your hands and welcome you to the council meeting. So I don't know when I would have a chance to come up and do anything before a council meeting. So I don't know when I'd have any contact with her for that. During the National Night Out, he got close to her and asked in a deep voice if I wanted to take a bath. I have no recollection of that. The facility is a really fantastic, high quality pet grooming place, and they board pets. It's really high class, and it's a treasure for Leon Valley to have that kind of business here. And I probably make some kind of comment about the wash tub, but for her, I might have made a comment about taking a bath a bath for the dogs or something, but I would never make a comment that I wanted to take a bath with her. Rodriguez stated that she started to notice more and more ways Martinez would make subtle innuendos. Again, when would I have a chance to make any sexual innuendos to her? I do walk around and shake people's hands, welcome them before a council meeting. I rarely see Councilor Rodriguez. I have never sat down and had a one-on-one conversation with her. So I don't know where she gets this, that I do this stuff. In fact, my wife, most of the people that come to frequent council meetings knows my wife is, I think she's almost been to every council meeting with me. And my wife is a good old-fashioned country girl. Do you think if I was doing anything or flirting with another girl or anybody, that she would tolerate that? She would definitely cause some body harm to me. Now, I admit, a lot of times I do shake people's hands. Hey, officer, how you doing? I do that quite a bit. What's wrong with that? It's just a warm handshake. I do remember making a comment about her hand being warm. I shook her hand like that. Shaking her hand like that is not caressing. I don't know where she came up with this delusional idea, but I vehemently deny ever shaking her hand, like rubbing her hand like she suggests. Again, I stipulate, I rarely have any interaction with Catherine Rodriguez. We've never had a conversation together. Usually after a council meeting, I normally go get my wife and maybe a couple other people, friends of mine, and we talk about going to Dairy Queen for ice cream. So I don't know when I would have a chance to even have any contact with her like she is claiming. And then between the dates October 2nd and November 20th, Rodriguez caught me several times undressing her with my eyes. Now, how could I possibly do that? I sit over on this side of the dais. She sits where Mr. Henry sits. How can I possibly, I could see her from this part up. How could I possibly, unless she's psychic, how would she know that I was visually undressing her? Again, she says that I would only try and touch her when I feel that I could control the scene. When have I ever been alone with her to control the scene or have any contact with her? Other than that one time that she came, I was talking with somebody else and she wanted to walk between us. I don't know where she comes up with these delusional statements. And I just showed you at the tree lighting ceremony, in 4 seconds, it would be impossible for me to put my crotch in her backside when you can see my feet have never moved an inch. And that's another thing. She's smiling in that picture. Between pictures 1 and 2, she's smiling. I have asked probably 6 different women, if someone came up behind you and stuck their crotch in your backside, what would you do? I've gotten responses from, I would move forward, I would turn around and say, excuse me, I would slap them, I would elbow them, I would kick them where but they would have some kind of physical reaction. If that happened, why would she stay smiling between pictures 1 and 2? It's complete fabrication. She states that she is not afraid of me physically. She would simply give me the bitch face. I have no earthly idea of what she's talking about there because I never have any contact with her. And if it's at the dais, she's giving me the bitch face at the dais. I have no idea what she's talking about. And she also mentions that she used to get along with my wife. My wife has no contact with her. So I think these statements are all just a fabrication in her mind. Let's see. That's all I've got for Catherine. Mrs. Acuna. The first time, like Miss Acuna said, we were in the small conference room here, talking about the water rates. We had raised the water rates, and we had a lot of people, citizens of Leon Valley, complaining about the water rates. So I believe myself and one or two other council members had met with her at separate times to discuss them. So what Public Works did is randomly pulled, I believe it was 10 water bills from people a year ago, and then their current water bill. So I can't remember who was where. I think Miss Acuna was sitting at the end of the table, and I was sitting, just further down the table, and we had the water bills between us. So, we would talk, I would look at her, and then we'd look at the water bill, and we'd discuss the water bill. Oh, look at this water bill, they use an X number of units, and this one they've used 5 times that much, and they look at the difference in the water bill. So we discussed that one, and I'd look up at her, and we'd discuss it, and we'd go to the next one. So, if I'm staring at her chest or whatever, I'm looking at her as a whole. Now, one thing you must, I think everybody that knows me knows I have a lazy eye. I had a cornea transplant about 40 years ago, and my eyelid kind of droops. I've talked to my doctors about it. They're not really concerned at this point. So, I don't know if it's just a perceived notion that I was staring at her chest. But no, I was looking at her. We'd talk a water bill. I'd look at her. We'd talk about it. Then we'd go to the next one. We'd look at it, paper. Then I'd look at her. As for moving forward to the tree lighting ceremony, or not the tree lighting, I mean the door. Every year, or the last couple of years, all departments decorate a door for some kind of a theme. And Public Works did the same thing. So I drove over there, and Public Works, you have to be buzzed in. And Mrs. Acuna did let me in, and the door was at the far end of the hallway. So Mrs. Acuna walked me down the hallway, and she explained the door to me, because it required some explanation. She explained the door to me, then she left and went to her desk. I continued looking at the door, and I took a couple pictures of it, and then I walked down the hall, and I stayed in the hallway. She was sitting at her desk across the room, and we just made a couple comments about the door, and I left. I don't know where she gets it. I was staring at her chest or whatever, but our contact that time was just maybe a minute, where she walked me down the hall and then she left. So I have no idea where this complaint came from. Now, to dispute what Lieutenant Gonzalez said, I'd like to call my wife up and make a statement. And I was talking to my wife. That was a personal conversation, and if you come up and just mention what you remember, but that was, if I was making any kind of comment, that's a comment between a husband and a wife.
Why? Yeah. Is your wife a witness later?
Yes.
She is.
And she's going to just say what only.
Just on that one, Lieutenant. Okay, as a rebuttal.
Well, she has to be under oath.
Oh, it has to be under oath. Yes, thank you. So just rebut that one claim. Yes, Sandra, Ms. Postle, if you'll please swear in the witness.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
Pat Martinez. That was a conversation my husband and I were having. We have a lot of conversations that have a sexual note. That's our way of playing with each other. And what we talk about on his phone, whoever hears it is nobody's business but mine and his. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
And I don't have any comments for Crystal, so I'm ready to accept any questions from council.
We're going to pass on the questions until the end. When it's his turn, then we can answer.
Is that what we decided?
That's up to you guys.
Is that what we decided?
That'll speed things along here.
I have some questions, and I think we should ask if they're about this issue. I think they're more relevant to ask now than.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming we're not going to get through everything tonight,
No.
so it seems like it'd make more sense to ask the questions now about the testimony he just gave.
Right. I think just to keep it all in, that was our goal, was to keep it together so we could remember the rebuttal and the testimony and whatnot. Okay. That's.
I'm not in agreement.
Okay.
I'd ask my questions later.
Well, you can ask questions later, but would that be all right with Mr. Bradshaw to ask questions? Ms. Charles, do you have questions? Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, go ahead. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Charles.
You alluded to the fact that both Counselor Rodriguez and Ms. Acuna's testimony was false? What they said
No,
was...
no. I stated Counselor Rodriguez's testimony is false. If Mrs. Acuna has that kind of comment, I have no way to refute that. I just gave my side of the story.
Okay. All right, well, let's focus on Counselor Rodriguez. If her comments or her testimony was false, what reason would she have to lie, do you think?
That's the $100,000 question. Other than the statement she made at the Wine 101 meeting before, when they were trying to lure Councilor Bradshaw into running on their platform, for lack of a better word, she was bragging that she was going to get me kicked off of council. So it just shows a pattern where...
That sounds like a second-hand knowledge that you're speaking of right now. You didn't have first-hand knowledge of that? Did you hear that conversation?
Will did.
No, I'm asking you, did you hear that conversation?
No, I didn't, but Will did.
All right. No, I'm asking you.
No, I didn't. I wasn't there.
Okay.
I wasn't there.
Then I would
I'm just refuting what Mr. Bradshaw stated.
Then I probably wouldn't testify to that. Do you know of any other person that has any relevant information about either of these incidents?
Not to my knowledge.
Any witnesses?
No, not to these. All I can state is that, everybody knows here I have my own business.
Right.
I have a female office manager. I've probably hired, in the last 15 years I've been in business, I probably had, over 10 women working for me. Nobody has ever accused me of anything like this.
So your response to this Counselor Rodriguez's allegations are?
They're all lies.
They're all lies. But you don't know why she would have a reason to lie.
Other than what I heard from Mr. Bradshaw, that she stated that the group that she is associated with had a plan to get rid of me.
But again, that's not what you heard. That's not anything that you heard.
Not firsthand, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're finished, Ms. Charles. Okay, Mr. Bradshaw.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, when you said that when Dr. Rodriguez won the election, you reached out to her and invited her out to lunch.
That is correct.
And you said you left a voicemail. Is that correct?
I called her that, I believe I can't remember if it was that night. I don't think it was that night. I think it was the next night. And I called her. She didn't answer the phone. I got her voicemail, and I just said, hey, this is Councilor Martinez. I just want to congratulate you for winning, and maybe in the future we can get together for lunch to discuss the city. Lunch type of meetings are supposed to be like non-threatening. If I was trying to invite her, if I wanted to have something more with her, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's, But no, lunch appointments are supposed to be like a non-threatening, no frills way to meet somebody. I have no idea at this point who she was. I didn't know anything about Catherine Rodriguez other than she won the election. I was campaigning for her opponent. So I didn't know anything about Catherine Rodriguez. So I thought it would just be nice to have lunch with her, and let's talk about the city and get to know her a little bit. That's it. Nothing more. There was no sexual connotation. There was nothing more than just being friendly to a new council member.
Okay. And you said you called one time. Is that correct?
I only called one time.
And so you said it was either that night or the next night after the election. So that would have been in May of 2018. Is that correct? When
Yes,
she was elected, I believe so. Because
yes,
the year
that'd be
before
2018.
Do you have phone records from that period?
I've tried to get them, but I've been unable to get them from AT&T.
Okay. Okay, the next question is actually about the picture that's up here, the Santa picture. When this picture was taken, you said, was your wife with you at this event?
Yes, my wife was standing real close to the photographer.
So facing you guys taking a picture. It's the council.
Yeah, my wife was
the
standing
mayor.
next to the photographer,
Yeah.
facing us.
Okay, did your wife say anything to you after this picture, well, after it was taken?
No, not at all. And there were a bunch of people around us. If I would have done as she claimed, somebody should have come forward and said something or done something or called one of the police officers. Hey, I just saw Councilor Martinez doing something. Didn't happen.
Okay. Has Dr. Rodriguez said anything to you about inappropriate behavior?
She has not said one word about all of the allegations she claims.
You never complained about
She's never said a word to me
back
about
off
any of them.
or anything? Okay. What about Ms. Acuna? Same question. Has she said anything to you about any of
No,
these?
she has not. We haven't, other than those two incidents, when we talked in the small conference room here about the water bills, and then 2 years later, when I went to Public Works, I haven't had any contact with her.
Okay. And you said you haven't had complaints from any other women at work. You don't have any.
No, I deal with women all the time. I'm very active. I was very active in my church, and there's a lot of women even in the TV ministry. Like I said, I've hired a lot of women in my 15 years in being in business. I have never had. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got everything I need. This may sound kind of hokey, but I've got a beautiful wife that cares for me. We've embraced God in our life, and my business is going strong. So, I've got these three things that have meshed into my life as it is right now. Do you think I'm going to do anything to jeopardize that? I have never, ever, ever, I've been married before. I have never, ever had the relationship I have with my wife. In fact, I can tell everybody here that I believe our relationship is stronger and our love is stronger today than when we got married.
Okay.
How many people can say that?
Okay. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Ms. Alex, sir, you didn't have any questions, is that right? Anything else? Okay, very good. Did the air go off? Oh, okay, thank you. I didn't know what that message was. Did the air go off? Okay, so it's cooling off now. Okay, thank you. All right. Any other rebuttal?
Yeah, Catherine and
Of Yvonne. Okay, very good. All right, we'll do that. All right, so Councilor Rodriguez, your rebuttal to what Mr. Martinez said.
Okay, just curious. Accordingly, Mr. Martinez claims that I am delusional. Seeing as how we were at tail waggers in a public arena, I'm just wondering if that makes me delusional, does that also make the city manager and the lieutenant delusional, since I heard him make comments?
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Acuna, do you have anything?
I just want to clarify to some of his statements. When we were in the conference room, we were sitting pretty close together. We were not separated, by distance. We were pretty close together, so that it was apparent when he leaned over to get a look down my shirt. It wasn't, just because of his eye. It was apparent. Secondly, when he came to Public Works, I did not buzz him in. I didn't even know he was coming in. I was walking down the hall towards the door. He was coming up the door. I explained where the door decoration was and went to my office. So I just wanted to clarify those statements.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, so. Okay, so unless they want to be recalled at a later date?
No, excuse me, Mayor. Can I respond to
Yes.
managers now, or
Oh.
should I wait?
Well, since hers was everything, if he responds when, because all of the stuff is just going to keep going unless it's limited to just her statements on the sexual harassment.
Do you want to limit it to the statements on the sexual harassment? That's what is appropriate right now.
No. Well, her statements were all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He'll get the chance to respond to hers after all the other witnesses because the other witnesses' testimonies are going to cover all of those areas.
You know, who's running this meeting? You, Mr. Henry, or the mayor?
Okay. I'm just trying to get some advice because we've never been down this road, Mr. Martinez. So I'm trying to do it fair and open. And so, again, I think if you can limit it to the sexual harassment because that's the topic that we're on, I think that would be appropriate.
No, my statements her statements were all over the field, and anything I say is going to cover everything in the world.
All right. So we'll wait until
Number 13.
you present your.
Yeah, for number 13.
Well, do we still have all these other witnesses?
Yeah, we've got
so
all
we
the
need
others.
to start. We need to finish that first.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, we won't go to number 13 until we finish the called witnesses that we discussed earlier. Oh, yeah, release of witnesses. So they don't need to be recalled?
If you don't want to,
So that would be Yvonne Acuna and, well, Catherine Rodriguez, I guess she could be recalled. And Melinda, there you go. She's wanting to be released as well. Yes.
I guess there's one rebuttal witness before we move on to Mr. Martinez's comments. That's Lieutenant Gonzalez.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting confused of the various people that have come up to the podium. Okay. Yes, sir.
Well, since I heard the counselor's testimony, it may or may not have been his wife he was talking to, but he did mention the Dairy Queen chocolate ice cream and bending somebody over.
Okay. All right.
That's all I have to say.
All right.
Thank you.
And you may be released as well, Lieutenant Gonzalez. Okay. Ms. Acuna, you may be released, and Ms. Moritz and Ms. Rodriguez, if you'd like to be released. Anyone else that has testified that will not be, and Lieutenant Gonzalez?
They don't have to leave.
They don't have to leave, yeah, exactly, but you are released if you'd like to. Okay, so Linda Moritz. Okay, so I think the next complainant is Mr. Brandon Milan. Mr. Milan. Okay.
Mayor and Council. My name is Brandon Milan. I'm the city's Planning and Zoning Director. I'm a trained architect, certified planner. I have a bachelor's, master's degree of architecture from University of Texas, San Antonio. I've worked for the cities of San Antonio, Midland, Oklahoma City, San Marcos, and Bulverde. Most recently in San Marcos and Bulverde, I've held senior level positions. I've left all the cities that I've worked for on exceptional terms. And I was very happy to join on with the city of Leon Valley back in April of 2018. I'm speaking this evening to discuss my complaints against Councilor Martinez and also the subsequent events that have occurred to myself and the other complainants since filing those complaints. Before I begin discussing my complaints, I'd like to start with an excerpt from the resignation letter of my predecessor, Nina Nixon Mendez, the former Planning and Zoning Director. That excerpt, I'll read it. It says, this was part of her resignation letter enlisting some of the reasons why she was choosing to move on to a different position. So she stated, most recently, Councilor Martinez met with me in my office and stated I should never provide a recommendation of denial concerning any business applicant, specifically referring to the U-Haul and the San Antonio Aquarium cases. In fact, in a loud tone, he stated that I should administratively approve those permits. In all of my 22 years as a professional planner, I have never seen this much disorganization and have never been confronted by this much animus towards me. So, when I arrived in April of 2018, I learned of this incident. Frankly, it lingers in my department. My employees in my department were there when this incident happened, and so obviously I learned of this incident. And frankly, I was aware of the potential treatment that I could receive serving in my capacity as a planning and zoning director. Surprisingly, I had no issues with Councilor Martinez until last October. I had a zoning dispute with someone that I'm not sure what the nature of the association was there, but following that zoning dispute, my treatment towards me by Councilor Martinez changed dramatically. This behavior ultimately led to me filing complaints against Councilor Martinez on December 20th, 2018. Yes, 8 months ago. My complaints were for the following: accusing me of misconduct, accusing me of not telling the truth about my actions and my conduct, insulting and demeaning my presentation skills in public, hostile and interrogatory questioning in public, very similar, frankly, to the line of questioning that we saw earlier between Councilor Martinez and Councilor Charles, forcing a yes or no question. And frankly, making the most horrific statement I've ever heard in my 10 years of public service, which was on December 18th, 2018 at the City Council meeting. We have the authority to do whatever we want. We are City Council, which literally made the audience gasp. Never heard such a thing. And most severely, attempting to order me in public to take actions that violate the city regulations and the zoning code. Are my complaints the most earth-shattering complaints you've ever heard when compared to the previous complaints that we've heard tonight regarding sexual harassment? No. Did I hope or expect that my complaints would lead to Councilor Martinez getting removed from council? No. I filed my complaints to continue to create the record of ongoing hostile behavior towards planning and zoning directors at the City of Leon Valley in my department that was begun by my predecessor, the last planning and zoning director. Are my complaints extraordinary? No. What is extraordinary, in my opinion, and what I did not expect, is everything that has happened since those complaints were filed. First, I'll start with the fact report that was prepared by outside Councilor Ryan Henry. In my opinion, in a typical abuser-harasser protocol, Councilor Martinez has categorically denied any wrongdoing. Even though most of my complaints are on video, you can go onto the city's website and literally look right now at those incidents. Or they were in a public meeting with multiple other officials that were there. And in fact, in the fact report, he went further. He went to take the steps and actually took the actual incidences for which I filed my complaints in the first place and took those to a completely new level in a public document by attacking my character, threatening me with corrective action, and accusing me of being dishonest and lying and withholding facts from the City Council. I may not be the best public speaker, especially when I'm nervous, and I clearly understand that certain people may be out to get me, but one thing I will not tolerate is being called a liar. Let all current and future City of Leon Valley employees know that when you are mistreated in this city by elected officials and you speak out, this is what happens to you. But the mistreatment did not stop with the fact report either. The mistreatment grew to occurring from other people in different ways. I'd like to address the fact that all of us complainants, we have been accused of being part of some conspiracy theory. We've been criminalized as being part of a conspiracy theory by other members of the city council, the mayor's own husband, and certain political candidates as being part of a conspiracy. Again, straight out of the political controversy handbook, when multiple victims speak out against you, try to turn the tables on them and try to turn the tables on your accusers and make yourself the victim. Yes, Mr. Bradshaw, you stood up here before you were elected and you demeaned the complainants, some of them sexual harassment complainants. And you stated you were shocked at people stooping so low to come up with these allegations. In a Pound Me Too Time's Up era, I think that is detestable. It worked for you, it looks like, for now. Let it be known that under no uncertain terms was I coached, persuaded, encouraged, or directed by the city manager of the City of Leon Valley or anyone in this organization to file my complaint. I filed my complaints 2 days after the December 18th City Council meeting when I frankly said I've had enough of this. I filed my complaints for the simple reason that I expect to be treated and I expect my colleagues to be treated with decency and respect. Other things that have happened that I've seen that have been disturbing. Regarding Mrs. Acuna, it has been stated for the record, even by you, Mayor, that Mrs. Acuna had retracted her complaint. This is not true, and she just stood up here this evening and said that she did not do that. If she had retracted her complaint and her claims, she would not have stood up here this evening and continued to state them to the council for investigation. She clearly did not retract her claims. Also, it has been said on the record by many others, including you, Mayor, that these claims have been rejected and that they're unmerited. That is not at all what the fact report says. The fact report specifically states, it is certainly within the realm of reason for Frederick, Milland, Officer Azar, and Officer Breton to interpret Martinez's actions as hostile. Martinez's behavior, especially that observed on video during the council meetings, can be interpreted as verbally abusive at times. However, such cannot form the basis of a hostile work environment claim under labor laws. No protected classifications were listed as the cause or form of the basis of the complaints. Therefore, the complaints are not sustained. This says that they're not sustained. In no way or form does this report reject the claims as meritless. So that is simply not true. And lastly, and I'd like to say most disturbingly, is the fact that what I found most shocking is that the mayor's own husband, an attorney, has represented Councilor Martinez. Mayor, you have denied this on multiple occasions, but we, the complainants, were there in the courtroom. We were there when the Councilor Martinez sued the citizens of Leon Valley to try to do everything he could to prevent the public process from taking place tonight. We were there. We saw him sitting at the table with Councilor Martinez and his other attorney, Mr. Ed Cagno. How do you think that made us feel? How do you think that would make any City of Leon Valley employee feel, seeing your husband up there defending him? Let all current and future employees of the City of Leon Valley know that when you get mistreated by an elected official in this city and you speak out, the mayor and her husband will stand against you. And lastly, I just want to address something that I've seen here that I find really disturbing. I've seen people talk about division that's occurring here in this city. Maybe I'm wrong, but I consider division to be part of a democracy and part of people having an opinion and possibly making a vote that differs with other people. Division is what brings about change, and I personally think division is progress. And I'm really sorry that the dirty laundry of this city is being aired for all the citizens of Leon Valley to see and the entire region to see this type of mistreatment that's been going on for 8 months that everybody has seen and knows and can clearly understand. But make no mistake about it. In my opinion, what's happening here tonight is progress. And frankly, I think it's progress to end the relentless mistreatment that's been going on here, at least for the past 8 months. Who knows how much longer than that, by Councilor Martinez and others, including you, Mayor, and you, Mr. Bradshaw, in effort to try and protect him. And I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Okay. Has any questions for Ms. Alcacer? Okay, Mr. Bradshaw.
Okay, Mr. Milan, you accused me of speaking out against the sexual harassment claims from before I was on the council.
Accused you of speaking out against all the claims as the complainant stooping so low.
What exactly did I say? Do you have that?
You said specifically, it's embarrassing to see individuals stooping so low to come up with these allegations against Councilor Martinez.
Okay.
It was on April the 16th at about, I think it was 2 hours.
So that was after.
On video.
I'm not disputing that, but that was after all of these allegations had come out against Mr. Martinez, correct? It wasn't, I think in your testimony just now you were referencing that I was specifically talking about the sexual harassment.
I said which includes sexual harassment allegations.
Thank you for clarifying that. The letter that you read, the resignation letter from Miss Nina Nixon Mendez.
Yes.
Who provided you with that resignation letter?
I did an open records request for that letter.
Okay. About when was that?
Over a month ago. Somewhere between a month and a half ago.
Okay. And then when you mentioned in the December 18th meeting that Mr. Martinez said, "We are city council, we can do whatever we want," that statement, what was he referencing in that?
That statement came directly after a line of questioning regarding notification boundaries for a current zoning change. The state law says that if you're required to send out notice to all properties within 200 feet for a zone change.
Okay.
And you calculate that area. And Councilor Martinez was potentially directing me to expand that notice and possibly calculate all of the opposition within the expanded notice. And I was clearly trying to say, you cannot do that because the law does not authorize it.
So it was Mr. Martinez's directive that you should give notice to more houses in the neighborhood?
That was part of the directive.
Okay. And
on February 18th, when Councilor Martinez asked me if I had done that, and despite what he said on record that I refused to answer the question, which is a lie, I actually answered the question directly, and you can see it on tape. I said, "No, I did not do that, sir, because that would not be legal."
So I guess so your understanding is that the city cannot ask for more than what the state requires?
No, what I'm saying is that you can't manufacture opposition, and that's
no,
what
I know, I understand that. I'm not talking about that. But the directive from Mr. Martinez is you say he wanted you to expand the zone of questioning. The state law says 200 feet, and he wanted to do 400 feet, or theoretically, I don't know what the number was, right? But he wanted to do more than that, and you're saying that he cannot do that?
No, you can send out notice to the whole city if you want to.
Okay.
What matters?
Calculate.
What matters
difference?
Is if you try to calculate more opposition and use that as a basis. The state law says if more than 20% of people within your 200-foot notification area object, then that requires a majority vote of council. And so I was trying to explain is we can send out notice to the entire city if we like to, but we cannot calculate more than the people within that 200 feet.
What is the reasoning behind that? Why we can't calculate?
It's state law and it's in your city code.
So I just went through this last council meeting regarding junk vehicles, and it was explained to me by the chief of police that we can be more strict than state law, but we can't be more lenient than state law. So that would seem to me that this is being more strict than state law, not more lenient.
Well, if you want to be more strict, you need to change your code.
Okay.
and then I'll enforce it.
Okay. So do you feel that, or do you believe that Mr. Martinez was acting as an elected official when he asked you to do these, perform these surveys, send out these notices?
He was up on the dais, so he was serving in his capacity an elected official at that current moment in time.
Okay. And do you believe that the city council should make the zoning decisions for the city?
I think the city council needs to follow their code, just as I do. And if they don't like it, they need to bring about a zoning code that goes through the Planning and Zoning Commission and is final approved by the city council, and then we all need to follow that code together.
Okay. Do you respect the fact that the city of Leon Valley is a council manager form of government?
I've worked for 6 cities that have a council manager form of government. Of course I do.
Okay. And you respect the fact that the city manager and the staff answer to the city council for the execution of the laws and the administration of the city?
I answer to the city manager. So I work for the city manager, and when I'm out here in this room, I respectfully answer the questions of the city council.
Okay. That's all for right now. If somebody else wants to go, I need to gather some of my thoughts.
Yes,
ma'am.
Councilor Charles.
There seems to be repeated directives given to you and your staff. How has this affected your staff?
Well, I think, since the complaints that I started, that I've documented here back in October, yeah, I think we're definitely on edge. Every time I've come out here to the council meeting since then, I'm just, wondering what's going to come your way, so yeah, anytime you have prior treatment, to previous planning and zoning directors, and you have the treatment I've had, yeah, we're all on edge more. I think, I'm not going to speak for my staff, but I'm on edge more than I ever have been at any other city.
Do you know your staff to be, are they divided in this issue, or are they coming together, or?
We have a strong staff. We are all united, and we're trying to keep our heads down and do our work as best as we can despite all this.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am.
Councilor Akers there?
In that particular case about the notice actually went out, did it not, to the extra people?
Yes, ma'am.
So that had been the original request of the council, and you had done that. The issue became not calculating that according to the standards that were requested by Councilor Martinez. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you explain again the difference? He's trying to say we could be stricter. If you're stricter than state law, it seems to me, then you'd say, we'll just do the fewer, not do more and count more. How would you, how could you work that particular case? Is there a way to do that?
I think we need to, if we want to send more notice out or less notice out, we just need to, frankly, we need to get, I'm not sure what the laws are, like if we can calculate a 3/4 percentage on a 1,000 foot notice. I'm really not sure what the answer to that is, but I can tell you that, if we want to send out more notice and we want to create a process for sending out a 1,000 foot notice for this kind of zone change versus that zone change, we can do that. Cities do that.
Did you think Councilor Martinez treated you differently than he treated other people?
Absolutely.
And how did that make you feel?
Yeah, on edge, disrespected, pretty embarrassed. Frankly, I had citizens, part of the reason why I decided to file my complaint as well is because I had citizens and different business, owners that had come up to me and they said, I don't know why you're treated like that. It's not okay.
Can you tell us about the incident with Mr. Morehouse and the other man whose name I don't recall?
Yes, ma'am.
Bobby Anderson.
Happy to. It's kind of a long process. I'm happy to go into the details of it. If you want me to just summarize it. Or?
Well, in relation to Councilor Martinez interference, because in his response, he makes a lot of accusations about that. And I was at one of the meetings, and with you and Councilor Martinez, and I remember Mr. Morehouse complimenting you a lot, so I was surprised at Mr. Martinez's response, so that's why I asked about it.
Yes, ma'am. I can kind of summarize that whole process for you. And mid-October, Mr. Anderson, who is the property manager for the property where Mr. Morehouse was wanting to locate his cage assembly business, they came into our office, wanted to file a certificate of occupancy. They had questions, whether or not this was going to, comply with the zoning code, and what they were planning to do, just like a lot of things, didn't fit into one classification in our zoning code. So I said, I hope you don't need an SUP, but frankly, you might. I don't know. I need to look into this. I've got a process where when I don't have the answer on the spot, I tell people, I don't know. It's good not to just say something if you're not 100% sure. So I said, I don't know. I'll have to get back with you. And so approximately 1 week later, I did get back, and I said, you're going to need an SUP. But in the meantime, to be business friendly, I said, let me take your application, and we'll get some of the inspections started. And so a week later, when I informed Mr. Anderson he'd need an SUP, that's when everything broke loose on that situation. There was, despite having my staff there that witnessed that initial incident, where I clearly said, you may need an SUP, there was all sorts of accusations thrown at me, my staff, about, me not telling them originally they needed an SUP and just surprising them, accusing me of, not doing my job to, help advise people. And it culminated in a meeting with Councilor Martinez that he initiated, the city manager, police chief, my assistant director, where Councilor Martinez again accused me of telling a different story than he got from Mr. Anderson and Mr. Morehouse. And despite my repeated attempts to say, here's what happened, I'm telling you the truth, here's what I did, this is, and I've documented that, and there was no changing his opinion on the situation. I felt at that time, and I still feel that he's convinced that I'm lying, that I'm dishonest, and is going to believe whatever business comes to him, despite whatever attempts I may make to tell him the truth of the matter. And so, despite that, I was committed to working through the process with Mr. Anderson and Mr. Morehouse. Being straightforward with him. We got that process, that SUP process going. We got him to Planning and Zoning Commission and Council, and they were opened less than 2 months later, or about 2 months later. So.
Were you aware that there were problems with Mr. Anderson before, trying to circumvent the zoning rules?
I was aware of other incidents that had happened in my office with him. As far as trying to circumvent rules, I definitely.
Shortcuts.
Yeah, challenging the interpretations of our department, definitely.
And are there any other cases that Mr. Martinez, Councilor Martinez, interfered with the progress you were making or made other accusations?
Not since I filed my complaints. No. As far as my predecessors, like I said in the resignation letter of Mrs. Mendez, that clearly, there's clearly a directive from Councilor Martinez to administratively approve a permit, despite the fact that it clearly was not meeting the zoning code because she had denied it. So I would definitely cite those as additional examples of attempts to direct staff to do things that were not meeting the laws and the codes of the zoning code.
And all of the personal attacks that you received from him in his response to your complaint, how did you feel about that?
I felt amazingly misunderstood, violated, that someone that doesn't even know me could clearly just make a blanket assumption that I'm dishonest, just based on the fact that, as he is even stated in the fact report, that he doesn't trust city employees and that I'm no exception. That clearly illustrated to me that there's a definite bias here against staff in general, and particularly the directors and the staff in my department.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
In addition to giving you directions to complete certain tasks, has Counselor Martinez ever given you administrative directions?
Not in my office. No, I mean, I'd say it depends on what you call administrative. Standing, being up on the dais and saying, did you calculate this or calculate that? That depends on what you'd call administrative. But
Maybe given directions for you to change your manual or your book that you work by, or add something.
There was, last year we were looking at modifying the design manual for cell node requirements. And Councilor Martinez had been vocal at the dais in terms of changes to that. We started out with kind of a routine change, and it turned into something that was more elaborate based on his feedback. And so I had included him in that process, just to show him, here's, what I'm potentially going to bring to council. And yeah, I got a lot more feedback on that and from him. And it was feedback ultimately that, Mrs. Frederick was out of the office, so I had an outside counsel look at it, and they said, no, this stuff is not stuff we can put in this ordinance. So yeah, there's I think the email said this is not good, or change it to this or something. I don't have the email.
Okay.
That's kind of what I remember of it.
How do you work with other counselors?
I definitely have enjoyed. I've enjoyed generally, working with this council. Like I said in my statement, I've been really displeased with some of the things that have happened since this, up until October, actually up until December, or October, November, December. I was enjoying working with this council, but since then it's gotten tense. I'd say superficial. Difficult to keep going when all this stuff's going on. People are doing things, but we have to come out here and, it's been difficult.
So have other counselors treated you in the same way that Mr. Martinez has?
Not directly, no, ma'am. I'd say, like I mentioned in my statement, a lot of the things that have upset me since I filed my complaints of things that have happened behind the scenes. The back channel stuff that happens where, it's just politicking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not appropriate outside of this evening, of course. It's not appropriate to bring those things up in outside of a council item that. But yeah, it's been tough carrying on out here in this area, knowing all this stuff is going on and things are being said about you, and you're being accused of things you're not doing.
I appreciate your comments.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Okay, yes. Mr. Bradshaw.
Back to the notification that was sent out to the other houses. If I recall, this had to do with the St. John Baptist Church.
Yes.
Their request for a zoning change.
Yes.
Is that correct? So what did the notification say?
I believe the notification said, the final notification that I sent out as directed by council said a zone change from probably R1 and B2 to B3 or B2. I think it was kind of, at that point, that process had just gotten so complex that, I to try to meet the demands of council, and then I tried to send a notice out that would cover all the possibilities, which is what I'm supposed to do.
But it's a notice of the change. So was this a card that people send back, or how does that work?
People can respond in different ways. They can mail back a letter, stating whether they're opposed or in favor. They can call me.
Did it have those instructions on it to response? Because when you talk about calculating, you're calculating the responses, right? Or something like that. So was there directions on this?
Well, we
card?
don't put directions on how we're going to calculate it. We put directions on how to contact staff.
Okay,
it specifically says, state law says we need to send you this notice. Thereby, here's your opportunity, more or less in so many words. Here's your opportunity to voice your opposition, and here's how you do it. You can contact contact me, and it has my phone number on it, and my email.
So you did receive responses back from this second mailer?
Numerous responses. I don't have the numbers, but if council wants to know that, happy to get those numbers.
Okay. But I guess why send out the notice if you're not going to calculate the responses?
We provided. It was asked at that meeting. Councilor Martinez asked me what percentage of the people in the expanded notification area responded back. And I said, I did not calculate that because that number is not, I can't use that in terms of calculating, whether or not council needs to do a 3/4 or the majority vote. But if I remember at that meeting, the city secretary is always really diligent about recording those. When I get notices, take them straight up to her, and she keeps a tally. And she provided that number at the meeting. I can't remember what it was, but the council was provided with the number of notices, the quantity that was received for that. I didn't provide a percentage, but we provided the number so the council could understand the magnitude of the feedback.
Okay, I just wonder why send out a notice and if you're not going to use it.
We did use it. We gave a number.
Yeah, but you didn't use it in your calculation. Is that correct?
Get you that percentage if you would like it. But we provided the number at that meeting.
Okay. And then
in either way, that does not change the fact that the directive was to do something, eventually use that information and do something that was not directed by the City of Leon Valley regulations. And it doesn't even address the fact of the horrific statement that was made, which is the reason why I filed my complaint in the first place, which is why I'm up here talking.
Understand. So yeah, from your letter, there's a couple things you talked about. Your original complaint letter, the December 7th meeting with Mr. Morehouse about the bird cages and things like that. But it seems like the majority of your complaint was about the December 18th meeting.
Yes. That was the tipping point for me.
That's kind of what I got from the complaint.
But it was important for me to note, and if you read my complaint, it's clear that on November 7th, which was the meeting that we had together with staff, there were statements that were made by Councilor Martinez. There was in particular statement that I say one thing and then I say another. That was stated in that meeting.
Right.
And there was a concern. And so what I was trying to show in there is that there is, the same things are being said. Some things are the same mistreatments occurring in private, and then it's being slung at me out here in public for everybody to see.
I got that. So if I could read a few of your excerpts from your complaint letter.
Absolutely.
A few of the lines from the December 18th meeting, you said, Councilor Martinez scoffed and leaned and whispered something to Mayor Pro Tem Alcazar. I found this action to be an attempt to intimidate me. The gesture distracted me and caused me to lose focus in my presentation. Also during my presentation, Councilor Martinez exchanged a small piece of paper with Mayor Pro Tem Alcazar under the level of the top of the dais. This action further distracted me during my presentation. Upon concluding my presentation, discussion at the dais began. When it was Councilor Martinez's turn to speak, he stated that my oration was all over the place and that, quote, I say one thing and then another. So I guess my request, Mayor, is can we review that December 18th meeting? Can we watch the footage of that and see exactly how stuff happened?
Well, maybe this is a good stopping point.
Yeah, maybe at the next.
Right.
And I'd like to summarize that whole paragraph. I could have summed it up in 3 words or 4 words. He was being a bully. Okay, so maybe that's how you could summarize that. But I wanted to detail it out for everybody to truly understand what happened there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We had talked about stopping at 10 o'clock, and it's now about 10:18. So I did not realize it. I don't know if anybody else did. But on the notice that was posted in very, very, very tiny, tiny, tiny letters, it says, the City Council reserves the option to recess the meeting during the day of July 2nd, 2019, and to reconvene the meeting on the following business day, July 3rd, 2019, at 5:30 p.m. at the Leon Valley City Hall, 6400 El Verde Road, Leon Valley, Texas. So is that the desire of the council to recess and reconvene tomorrow at 5:30?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bradshaw?
I would rather wait till next week. I feel like it's the day before 4th of July weekend. If possible, I would like to.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and take a vote then, if that's, y'all would like to make a motion
I make a motion.
Mhm.
I make
Just
a
to keep it on
motion
the
that we
record.
reconvene July 3rd at 5:30.
I second the
All right.
motion.
We have a motion by Counselor Charles and a second by Counselor Alcacer to reconvene the 312 hearing tomorrow evening, July 3rd, Wednesday at 5:30 here in City Hall.
Point of order,
Yes.
isn't there a rebuttal at this time before we close this section? Testimony was just given, and the agreement was that
Mayor, I'm not getting
Okay.
any of him on.
No, I can't get you on tape, Mr. Johnson. I thought we would just pick up on the rebuttal tomorrow, just
Yeah, we're just
because we haven't, I believe Mr. Bradshaw asked that we key up the particular section that you wanted on December 18th, which I think is a good idea. So we could start with that tomorrow and then go into the rebuttal. So I didn't
And
think
for
we were.
Point of order, I don't believe Mr. Milland was finished.
No.
You guys have not excused him yet, so
No,
there's
mm-mm,
no
we haven't.
time for.
No, we're going to continue tomorrow. Just pick up where we left off.
And the rebuttal comes after
After everybody.
Chief Joe.
Right. Okay. So,
Mayor,
and-
is it possible that we could move to the conference center instead of here because of space constraints?
Well, I don't know if anybody knows we're going to reconvene tomorrow at 5:30. I didn't know it until tonight. I didn't see it.
I'm just concerned about people being turned away that
Mhm.
were trying to come today.
Mayor, Councilor Bradshaw, unfortunately, we can't live stream from there, and we have to live stream this.
Well, and then this is our notice if we have it tomorrow. This is the notice that they don't have to repost because of the 72-hour requirement.
That's the language
So-
we received from the attorney to post.
Like I said, I didn't see it. Okay, so Ms. Postley, if you'll take a roll call vote on postponing it for tomorrow versus, I believe, Mr. Bradshaw, you said next week.
Counselor
So-
Charles,
Agreed.
Counselor Rodriguez,
Yes, to abstain.
Yes, to abstain.
on to reconvene?
Yes.
Okay. Counselor Alcacer
Yes.
and Counselor Bradshaw.
No.
Okay, the motion carries 2 ayes and 1 nay. And so at approximately 10:22 on Tuesday, July the 2nd, we will recess this 312 hearing until tomorrow, which is Wednesday, July the 3rd at 5:30 here in City Council chambers. Good evening.
Hold on to that. Do you want me to give me a copy of this one? Do you want me to come down there? Do I need to gather them all from the council? We have an 8:30 for the July meeting tomorrow. If you'd like to join us at that. I'm tired. Yes. Here, you gotta keep this. Keep it here. Hold on, let me go find Councilor Martinez. And we spend all of 4th of July here because we have the staff, yeah. We don't get off till next week. We don't start celebrating. My daughters learned that we do firecrackers like a week after 4th of July.
Do you know Sarah Smart? She's an
No.
attorney.
Hi, Ryan Henry.
And she is questioning a violation of this act, Open Meetings Act.
Someone legal.
We'll have to talk to the fire chief on this calculation. I'll talk to the fire chief. It depends on exactly what they adopted in their adoption of the fire code, which version, and then kind of what he used for the calculation. So that's what I got to talk to him about. Okay?
Is there anything I need to be doing different?
No, you're fine.
No, it's just
trying to get people in.
the priority of those is if they're witnesses, they have to
No,
be.
thanks. I appreciate it.
That are not in compliance.
Yeah, the issue is we didn't know there were witnesses.
Yeah, I know. But what she's saying is that when they were told
Saving him a
she was a witness for any
Okay, well, I did.
right, and so her issue just was just like,
I didn't even go into work today.
I'll make sure that's fixed for tomorrow. Ma'am, I'll make sure that's fixed for tomorrow.
yeah, that's fine. So we're not done.
Oh, I know who that guy is.
him off, you might as well just go home, dude. I think everybody on. I live on 46. On my back. Yeah, exactly. Yes, sir. Right there, you're out, sir. Y'all are wrong.
I am dog tired.
Mayor, did you have your phone with you?
Yes, I do. No, yeah, I do. I think I do.
You said earlier you didn't. You left it.
Somebody left it. Oh, it's down. It's
I sent
down.
you something.
Huh?
I sent you some message.
Okay, it's down someplace.
Okay.
I never have it on me though.
I don't know how a woman makes here with the purse left behind. That's weird, right? Man, how does a lady leave her purse behind? I don't know. One, give me number one, please.
I know somebody left it.
If you're live streaming and you left your purse in chambers, police department has it.
Let's see, I think I'm gonna keep this.
Mayor,
I'm
I'm
using
still
this.
live streaming. I'm trying to get it turned off.
Okay.
We are aware that we're still live streaming, but New York has to turn it
I
off.
think I'm gonna leave these in my office so I don't have to take these back because there's so much, I don't.
Okay, so it's just gonna live stream until they can go and cut it tomorrow, I guess. I guess they've gone home, but we'll get it corrected before tomorrow.
Okay, so
Okay.
you don't think we'll have any
Good night.
problems tomorrow night?
Good night. No, we'll keep working on it until tomorrow. It's my computer got a virus this evening.
Oh, we did.
So, get it fixed before tomorrow. Do you have everything?
No, ma'am, I've gotta come back. I just wanted to put these up.
What are you looking for? My purse. Is this yours? Yeah. I thought, well, because I saw that I thought there's a phone in here, and then I thought, I thought, well, I can't call the phone. Who's gonna answer? Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Make sure everything's in there, though.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay. I was wondering who walked out with it.
I
Or did
forgot.
left it. Hey, okay, you cancel, sir? Yeah, I did. All right, very good.
can turn these off.